Good evening to everyone. I hope everyone are fine in this pandemic situation. So today we are going to discuss about Shallow Foundation. It is the introduction webinar. So we will discuss about the foundation techniques and the types. And before starting this foundation, we should carry some another things like a site investigation and the soil investigation. Those all are the things we will discuss on today's webinar. And these all are the table of contents. I'm going to go through the webinar introduction, soil investigation, and some factors is affecting on the foundation and the types of foundation and loading conditions and the depth criteria and some special conditions and special design requirement and bearing capacity theories and the theories the scientists given some failure mechanics. So those all are the things we are going to discuss on this webinar. And now we are going on introduction. That introduction is based on soil behavior and that mechanics. Like soil is very sensitive material with water. Once it gets with water, then it will behave literally different. So if we see based on the soil classification also, this water content is given the much important phenomena in our soil mechanics characterization. For example, for the major classification of the soil mechanics is like a cohesive and non-cohesive soil. The first step of the soil mechanics, not only soil mechanics, if you want to do the foundation in foundation design, that also the first beginning step is the classification system. In this classification system is based on this water content. Water content means if we are going through on the cohesive soil, then the water content is very important factor because the water content will literally change the soil behavior or the clay behavior. So the mechanical properties of the soil, and it may be in the saturated condition or it may be in the unsaturated condition. For example, everyone knows my thing, black cotton soil. It's a variety of a clay soil. So in this soil, if we add water, then the soil will start to swell. If the same soil in the dry state, then the swelling will be totally zero and it will start to shrink. So lot of volume change will occur in this condition. That volume change is only because of the water. So water content is the most important thing in soil mechanics design and soil mechanics classification. And these two pictures I want to show you everyone. These are the wall. In the wall, some failure happened. In this failure is in the crack pattern. Based on if we are seeing some this kind of cracks in the superstructure, it may be caused because of that low quality material or that labor problem, and these things will cause that these kind of cracks. If particularly we are seeing these kind of cracks in the junctions like beam column junction or some structure main element like beam or column, so those place these kind of cracks are there, then definitely we should think about the soil design and we should go for that again cross check the that soil parameter on the foundation design. So these two things will we can't able to take it very leniently. It will give much important in the foundation design. And yeah, soil is usually soil is a weaker material compared to another man-made material like concrete or steel. Those all are very strong material compared to the soil. So these material we can say like a load transfer device. This device easily transfer the load from the superstructure to the substructure. If these devices are transferring the load, then two another factors we should think. One is the settlement. That settlement is a very serious condition, and that another one is stress. If we are applying the load on the soil, then we are giving applying a stress on the soil, so it will behave based on our loading pattern and loading condition. In our UG, like a bachelor degree time, we always confuse with the foundation and the footing. Usually people will say if whatever it is going below the ground, we will say like simply foundation, but it is not like that. The foundation is just above the footing. This portion is the footing, and above this portion like a maybe that is a wall or like a column. So this portion is a foundation wall. the as a basic civil engineer or a geotechnical engineer, you should know the difference between the foundation and the footing. And next we are going on the soil investigation. Yeah. Here I am just showing some of the figures. We did these tests previously in some of the major cities in the Tamil Nadu. So I'm just going to explain these tests and why we are want to do these tests and what is the importance for the foundation design. Those all are things I'm going to discuss on some few slides. Okay, this is we are doing a wash boring. This is the equipment setup, and this one is the drill rod. So once we started drilling, then this rod will be rotate like this, and this tarp will break the soil in terms of shear failure, and that sample will be taken out for the laboratory testing, or we will give that correlation based on the penetration rate. This uh, slurry portion, it's useful for treating that borehole, like that borehole should be stable. So for the stable, this fluid is very important. And another thing, that soil should be cut. So for the cutting purpose also, we need these fluid. These two problems we can rectify use these bentonite slurry. This we called as a bentonite slurry. This is the drilling fluid. And these all are the samples. I'm going to explain these samples. This is a clay sample. We got it in one of the project. This is SPT's standard penetration test sampler. So this is a specific sampler, like this is the tube sampler. This sampler, once we take out from this borehole, it will be like this. So this portion is entirely occupied by the soil, and this portion is it will penetrate into the ground. So this portion is a seating drive. Usually what we will do in this Bridgestone sampler, we will mark it like a 15 centimeter, 15 centimeter, 15 centimeter. So the first 15 centimeter is a seating drive. So these portions are seating driving portions. So that's why these samples are very loose. And these all are the remaining portions. And this second 15 and the third 15 centimeter, we will take it as a standard penetration number. For the soil, the sample will be coming like this. If we are doing in a rock, then we will get a sample like this, rock specimen. Maybe it will be like a 1 meter specimen. Maybe if we are using a bigger or longer core barrel, then the sample length will be like a few meter maybe. So it depends on the core barrel. And the importance is why we want to do this soil investigation. We want to know what kind of soil we are going to deal with for the project. So once we know the soil classification system, then we will fix the sampling technique and the coring technique and the laboratory testing. So these all are the techniques will give the parameters. Those parameters we will use for that foundation design. So for the foundation design, we need these parameters. These parameters only comes from the soil site investigation or the soil investigation. And another point is soil investigation is completely different from the site investigation. What we are seeing in the previous slides like these all are like a site investigation process. Soil investigation, we will do the investigation based on this sample and this samples and this sample. So in that sample, we will take it out in our laboratory, and that laboratory we will do sieve analysis as per that liquid limit and some another limit based on ASTM or Indian standard. Based on that, we will conclude this soil will be comes under this category. So this category will tell us what kind of methodology we should use for the future design and what are the parameters. We will get to know rough idea about the parameters of the same one. Whatever I am telling, the design parameters, these things are needed. And one more thing, what I added in this slide, and the soil will behave in especially for the loading condition, it will behave in the two manner, like a drained or under. So this soils particularly maybe drain soil or undrained soil. So this also we can get to know from the site investigation and frequently the soil investigation in our laboratory. Then only we will decide what kind of loading pattern and what kind of loading give importance on the foundation design. And now I'm going to discuss some factors. These factors are going to affect the foundation. And first, primary factors are affecting foundation choice like a structural element requirement and subsurface soil and groundwater conditions. This structural requirement, like if we are constructing a shopping mall, then the structural element requirement will be different. If we are going for a cine mall, inside that mall, we no need any column. If we are going for any another other residential building or some academic building, then usually we will construct like 10 feet once we fix the column based on a thumb rule. So for that structural requirement also will affect the foundation choice. And subsurface soil, if the subsurface soil is not adequate to transfer the load, then we will go for that another technique or ground improvement technique, something else. And the groundwater condition, if we are constructing a building near a water body, then the groundwater condition is a very critical phenomenon, because what happen if the rainy season, the groundwater table will go rise. If the normal season, then it will be come down. So these groundwater will affect the foundation. If in case we are not that much lucky, then we will get that salty water. If the salt water is there, then the corrosion problem will becomes. That is the another point, another major issue. And these all are the secondary factors affecting the foundation soil, like construction access and method and the site condition. Like in some project we can't access the site for that adjacent building, or for we may choose some hilly area, then we can access the site easily. So these all other things will come under this category. And some environmental effect and the nature will affect, and building codes and the regulations. Here the building code, I want to say something about this building code. If we are you are referring IS 456, that 456 will say if you have this problem, then you can go for this solution. But if you are referring for the soil mechanics or foundation design code, the codes will never say you can go by this. The codes will never give decision. The codes will give the recommendations. So that's why these secondary factors also is important. And another thing is impact on the surrounding structures and the construction schedule and the construction risk. And the construction schedule is little quite different. It will not comes under all the places. For example, if we are going dealing with the soft clay, so if the soft clay and with the water content, if we want to construct a building on the soft clay, means we want to give the settlement, we want to get some settlement before starting the construction. Otherwise the building will get affected in future. So what we will do, we will say like a preloading technique. That preloading technique, it's based on only the construction schedule, because we preloading tech, we are applying some load before starting the construction. So that if for example if we are applying like a 20 ton load before going to start a construction, we can't simply go and put a load on 20 tons. Initially we will start with the 5 tons, and after some 2-3 weeks we will give some time for the stabilize. Then we will go for that another 5, then we will go for the another 5, then finally it will comes up to that 20 tons. So it will take like some particular period. So that schedule should be properly maintained. Otherwise that uh, soil will not get compacted. So that's why the construction schedule is important in some particular sites. And this type of foundation, the foundation is basically the major two types is like a shallow foundation and the deep foundation. In this two category only, other foundations will comes under on these two categories only. These two category will be differentiate based on the depth and that foundation size. So that depth is much greater, then we will go for the deep foundation. If the depth of foundation is less or equal to that width of foundation, then that was a shallow foundation. And here I'm just showing something like a types of shallow foundation. The shallow foundation is footing and rough foundation. This footing is again classified as a spread footing and the strip footing and isolated footing. This isolated footing is further classified based on the dimension as well as the size and shape. So square, rectangular, and circular footing, and then strap and combined footing. And that confined footing is again classified as a rectangular footing and the trapezoidal footing. Usually in the residential building, we will go for that isolated footing. And if the building have like 2 4 floors, then we will go for the combined footing. And the interesting thing, if we have some limited land, that land area will be some limited, and it is near to that other property boundary or other government utilities boundary, then we will go for the trapezoidal footing or the rectangular footing. If the our foundation is on that boundary of our land, then we will go for that combined footing. And the strap is like uh, two isolated footing will be with the strap beam, so that kind of footing is called as a strap footing. And here I am not mention one special kind of type of footing, that is we call as, in a geotechnical point of view, called as a pile draft foundation. These pile draft foundation nowadays, in some major cities we are using, this is like a combine of raft and the pile. So below the raft we will use the pile. This pile is not a end bearing pile, this is kind of a friction pile. So this foundation is, simply we can say, this foundation is a floating foundation. If we are facing the sandy sand soil, then this kind of pile draft foundation will be it's a good choice on that kind of sandy soil. And again, loading conditions, these four kind of major loading is going to act on the soil. Like a compression load, it is a purely vertical load. And that uplift load is usually normally comes under that residential building. It will comes on that towers and some cables locations, those place this uplift loading, and as well as this lateral load also will come. Combined of this lateral load or this uplift load or this vertical load with some eccentricity, we will get the moment load also. So that time our foundation should encounter on these four types of load: compressive, uplift, and lateral and moment. These kind of moment load is most important for the flyover or bridge construction. So there, these kind of moment will be comes. So that's why for the structural element itself, we will construct that as like a simply supported beam, because if the moment will comes, then that foundation everything will be critical. So that's why for the structural element itself, we will design as a simply supported structure for that beam, sorry, bridge and flyover. And the location and depth orientation, uh, yeah, here the depth is like it will vary. We can't say like specific depth, this much depth, or these are the locations for that site investigation or the foundation design. So simply I will just tell you the factors. What are the factors we will consider for the location and the depth orientation? These factors will not affect the depth, like a lateral explosion and the seasonal volume change causing by freezing and tunneling and presence of adjoining structures. And these also not a individual factors that you should don't forget on that also. If some another factor or a structural requirement comes under this category, then these factors also you will consider for the depth orientation. And that these all are the prime factors is affecting depth of the foundation depth, like subsurface soil and groundwater condition and the structural requirements. If we are constructing a more than 10 floor building, then definitely we will go for the deep foundation if this strata is not a rocky. Yeah, then this is some special condition, whatever I mentioned in the initial slides, like corrosive conditions. If we are encountering the salt content or chlorides or sulfates in some particular sites, like like marine sites and some black cotton soil also, we can encounter these chlorides in some particular site, not in India. In Ethiopia, you will find out the chloride contents in black cotton soil in some places. So for that kind of chemicals, we should use sulfate resistant concrete or a quick concrete. Those kind of material will nullify these kind of phenomena. If we are using a steel pile, then definitely these factors will affect the foundation elements. Yeah, some special foundation design requirements for the shallow foundations. And here we are going to discuss on some dam foundation and some bridges or flyover. Okay, for example, if we are going for a dam foundation, then we need some parameters like geotechnical perspective we will call like a V notch, V shape or a U shape. For the catchment area, if the catchment area is very fine and we are getting like a U shape, then we will go for the dam foundation. And the dam foundation also we use for the bulk concreting. So the bulk concrete should be resistant of that porous as well as the lateral load, because the tidal load will comes on this concrete, bulk concrete. So these all are the things we will consider for that dam foundation. If the bridge decks is coming under simply supported bridge, then the differential settlement, it's roughly it comes around like a 20 to 25 because if it is settled in a uniformly little bit, then it is not that big issue. But if it is the found decks are settling in a differential settlement, then obviously it will create a issue, because the simply supported, then it will comes under the fixed support. So obviously the moment will comes on the picture, so the load will high, so we will our structure superstructure will get collapsed quickly. And if we are going for a multi-span continuously deck, then the settlement criteria should be 10 mm. And yeah, previously I told like a rock or a soil foundation in a dam, then we need proper investigation and the proper materials and the proper quality control construction process. So if the dam foundation is permeable, here a lot of things we will consider for the dam foundation. I'm just quickly explain only one thing. We would call that is like a piping failure. So these kind of piping failure, especially that will happen in a dam foundation in the upstream to the downstream. What it will, that pipe kind of soil will be completely corrode from that upstream to the downstream. So that passage is like a become like a permeable passage. So in future the dimension it will be increased and the foundation will damage. So for that kind of special conditions you will consider for the dam foundation. And this leaking issue also we will think about in the reservoir construction. Yeah. Yes. And again, the important phenomena is the landslide. Usually in the reservoir, it may be a what like a lake or it may be a sea, whatever it is. This landslide will happen in both the cases. If the landslides happen, then the waves created, these waves will give lot of load to the downstream phases. So if these things have happened, like a landslide have occurred in the reservoir, then obviously lot of damages, not only structural element in the human also will get lot of disturb because of that landslides occurs in the reservoir. This is the reservoir in Italy in 1963. This is the famous dam failure because of the landslide. You can Google it. This you will get that complete detail. What happened? This in that side portion of the dams are occupied by the rock. That is a limestone rock. After that, some period, what happened? That bulk limestone it's just slide. Simply, it's just slide, and that down upstream portion is occupied by the limestone. So the water will just fill from the top of the dam. So the entire town was just completely vanished and 2200 people lost their life. So because of this incident, after that only the rock mechanics and the landslides are getting improved means in the point of research. So we are nowadays also we are just working on the limestone behavior in the dam sites and the fault and fold zones. For those kind of if, phenomena are gets important after this failure only. And this is the foundation selection for some alternatives. If we are going for like a matte foundation, we will use, if the spread from, if initially we will go for the isolated footing. If the isolated footing area is larger, then we will go for a matte foundation. If we are encountering poor soil, then we will go for the deep foundation for the better result. If we are getting a poor material, then we will replace it and we will place the suitable material, and we should compact that properly. This compaction is a compaction also is important phenomenon, because if we are not compacted properly, then in future we will face the settlement issue. So once we are facing this, if we are find out this place soil is not good for constructing that superstructure, then we should remove the soil and we will improve it, or we will replace it with the good material with the well compacted. Okay, treat the soil in place before constructing to improve its property. And foundation should be designed to accommodate expected differential settlement. So in foundation design, we have some certain limits for the differential settlements and the uniform settlement based on soil condition, based on not only soil condition, based on soil classification and the mechanical behavior. So those kind of settlement phenomena also should be in a limit. So this is the foundation design. Yeah, foundation design is mostly it will circulate on these two phenomena, like bearing capacity analysis and the settlement. These two phenomena is the most important phenomena, because we will design the foundation based on this bearing capacity as well as this settlement. And here I am going to tell you something. These are all the standard terminology we use for the foundation design. Like first one is the grass foundation pressure. This one is the total pressure is acting based on the footing, and that net pressure is grass pressure minus overburden pressure. Overburden is nothing but if for example, if we are constructing a building in a 2.2 meter, below 2 meter, then the 2 meter multiplication with the unit weight of soil, that is the overburden pressure. So if we are neglecting these overburden pressure, difference between these overburden pressure and that grass foundation pressure, and that ultimate bearing capacity is the minimum mass pressure at the base of the footing will cause the shear failure of the soil.
Yes.
Can I start right?
Yes, you can. But your voice is breaking up a little bit.
Okay, now it's fine.
Yes, yes, it
What?
is.
Sorry to sorry for the disturbance. What happened for the medical emergency? I am in my relative place, so
Oh,
that's why my internet and my little surroundings also is not in my hands. That's
that's
why
okay.
this
That's okay.
issue.
You can continue.
Yesterday, after yesterday, I'm fine. There's for the medical emergency. I'm in my relative place. So
Okay, okay.
yeah,
All right. That's okay. That's okay.
yeah.
We
Sorry
can
for the
continue.
disturbance to everyone. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Next terminology is a net safe bearing capacity. This is like maximum net pressure that of the foundation will safely carry without risk of the shear failure. That is like, and that safe bearing capacity is the maximum grass pressure at the soil able to carry safely without the risk of the shear failure. And allowable bearing capacity, this is the maximum net pressure that the foundation will safely carry without any risk of shear failure and without excessive settlement. Yeah, now we are jumping into bearing capacity analysis and theories. These all are the theories are there for the bearing capacity design, like a simplified theory, Teske theory, Meyerhoff, and Wiesig's eccentric loading and Herson theory. The classic theory is a Terzaghi bearing capacity theory. After that, Terzaghi bearing capacity theory is updated by Meyerhoff, Wiesig's, Herson, using some factors. So here now we are going to go through on that Terzaghi bearing capacity theory only. Yeah. This before starting this Terzaghi bearing capacity, Terzaghi given some assumptions. This assumption, based on these assumptions only, this Retzagi bearing capacity theory is arrived. Like a depth of foundation is less than or equal to width, and the soil is a homogeneous and isotrophic, and the loading pattern should be a vertical, no eccentric, and the foundation is a strip footing, and the rough interface with that, and the shearing resistance above depth of the foundation is neglected, and it caused the general shear failure. And for that entire process they are considering shape effect, foundation shape effect. And this one I will tell you, the shearing resistance when depth of foundation is neglected. Yeah, in this slide you can able to see this, I hope you can able to see this df up to this depth. Above this depth, this shearing resistance is neglected. Yeah, I will explain you the theory on this diagram. This is the isolated footing in the found. Usually we will use this foundation in the side. Yeah, we are applying a vertical load is applied. So this vertical load is from here to here. It will be in contact with the ground in a UDL loading condition, like a uniform distributed loading condition. Will be there in the base of the footing. This base should be rough enough to with this soil condition. Yeah, in this portion is an active portion, and these all are like a passive portions. Once this vertical load is continuously applied, what happen, this portion, this interface, it will transfer the load from this concrete element to this soil. So this uneven or this zone soil will get disturbed. uh, just below of this foundation, this is like an active zone. This zone we call as active zone. This portion will get affected much compared to these another zones. These two zones are a passive zones, and this is like an interface zone. And this interface zone we will face the shear failure. Everywhere we will face the shear failure, but here exactly we will face the shear failure on this surface. That also most probably in the field it will happen in a normal to this zone, like this zone. Yeah, and this is like alpha. This is a failure degree, and this one is the passive failure angle is pi by 4 by pi by minus pi by 2. Yeah, this is the formula for Terzaghi bearing capacity for a strip footing. The CNC QNQ plus 0.5 B gamma N gamma. This is a cohesion value of the soil, and the NC is a factors. These all are NC, NQ, N gamma is a bearing capacity factors. These factors are given in a table that I will show you in the frequent slides. And this Q is the overburden pressure. This overburden pressure is nothing but gamma into df, and this 0.5, and B is a width of the foundation, and gamma is the unit weight of the soil. And these all are the additional factors we will use for that Terzaghi bearing capacity formula. In consider some another factors, whatever I told you in the previous slides in that basics and house and Mayer of, they improved this equation adding some factors. So for that kind of factors they are saying like Na, Nc and gamma, it's updated with some another factors. These factors also it will not comes easily just like that. These factors also comes based on cohesion value as well as shearing resistance value. uh, these all are the different size shape of the footing, like a strip or round or square. If the size shape is different, then the sc s gamma value should be different. These all are is there here. Sc S gamma. For these, every scientist will update their formula after a certain period, or in the future scientists they will update the formula based on adding some factor on the original equations. And these are the this is the table for NC, NQ, N gamma. This NC, NQ, N gamma value we will take out based on this five value. I told you that these factors is completely depend on that phi value as well as C value. Yeah, this is failure mechanics in the shallow foundation. Yes, here I want to explain something different, interesting phenomena. This is like a soil zone. Here our foundation are there and footing, and it's strip footing. Okay. This case will be like it will show little like little near to the tilt failure. So if this is the failure surface, this failure surface will be mobilized by the shear strength of the soil. This is the induced shear stress is acting towards that outside of the soil. Then the mobilized shear will be acting just opposite to that shear stress induced phenomena. Yeah, this will happen in both the sides, not only this zone, it will happen like this zone also. For that convenient, I just shown this diagram. So this will happen in the both sides. If the load is in the vertical, direct vertical, then it will happen in the both side. If the load is in some eccentric condition, then these kind of tilt phenomena will be happen. Yeah, this is the type of failure. This like general shear failure and the local shear failure, the punching shear failure. Lot of difference are there between these three types, but the major difference and that unique is that failure zone. If we are saying general shear failure, that failed soil will be like this much area. But if we are coming on that local shear failure, then the soil failure zone is this much and the punching shear is this much. But again, that another point of view is that settlement. If we are encountering on the general shear failure, then our settlement will be less compared to the local shear failure as well as compared to the punching shear failure. So these failure zones are different and the settlement rate also different. Based on that, we classified these as a general shear failure, local shear failure, and the punching shear failure. This kind of general shear failure will happen like a little strong material, and this punching shear will happen very loose or a clay material. In between these two, this general shear failure will happen. Yeah, this is like a based on relative density. For example, in sand, everything for the design, not only design for the strength character, also everything will be little bit, not little bit. It's based on the relative density. If the relative density is high, then the failure will happen suddenly in the and if it is more than 7, then this zone, if the soil is coming on the foundation and the soil correction is coming on this zone, then the general shear failure will happen. And this x-axis is the relative density axis, and here depth of foundation is depth of foundation by width of foundation. If the two values is coming on this zone, then we will encounter on the general shear failure. If it is coming on this zone, then we will encounter the punching shear failure. Yeah, and general shear failure, it is coming like a zero point 0.7. It's little higher zero point 0.7. If it is coming like that, then the failure will happen suddenly. But not in the local shear failure, the case will different. That failure will not happen suddenly. And the settlement criteria, and settlement criteria also usually for the thumb rule, what we will say, for the clay soil, that settlement should be in a 25 mm, and the sand it will be like a 40 mm or something. And these also not a constant value. Again and again and again, I'm telling these things. Nothing is constant in soil mechanics foundation design. Everything will change based on the site condition and the soil condition. uh, Here, that settlement criteria we will going through on the general factors or the general phenomena. And settlement will be like a two kind of settlement. One is a uniform settlement, another one is a differential settlement. The If the settlement is happening in a uniform manner, then it will be fine. Yeah, if the settlement is happening in a differential manner, then it will be literally a big issue. For good example of the differential settlement is the Pisa Tower. One side of the tower is settling high compared to that another side. So for this, because of that, the size, the building is little tilted. So for that, differential settlement is a important phenomena for the foundation design. And the excessive settlement may affect the utility and spoil the appearance, and it may cause the damage also. Uh, it is because of the weak bearing soil and the poor compaction and change in moisture content and the trees and vegetation process and some consolidation. Yeah, I'm not discussed on the consolidation. This consolidation will happen in a clay soil. Usually it will happen in a clay soil because the clay soil have a good capacity to hold the water for a long duration. So removing the water is will take lot of time. So for the clay soil, consolidation process will happen. For a sandy soil, the settlement process will be happen. It will be a quick process. For the clay, it will be a slow process. And foundation types and usages, here I given some table. This table, the first column is a foundation type and the use and the application of the soil condition. For the spread footing and the wall footing, we can use individual columns or a walls. It's like a wall bearing structure, and this is suitable for single stratum firm soil or a soft layer, or the soft layer or a firm layer. For this we can use these kind of foundations. And the combined foundation is footing is 2 or 4 column on footing and the space is limited. This is also for it applicable this. And again I told you long previously the space limitation also. And the third one is the mat footing. uh, Several rows of parallel column, heavy column load used to reduce the differential settlement. Yes, here that mat foundation, if we are constructing a mat foundation, then obviously there's differential settlement will be totally reduced. Only the structure will be encountered on the uniform settlement. Yeah, this is that another table. This table contains subsoil condition and the structure, and this is yeah, light or flexible structure. This is a heavier rigid structure. For example, deep, compact or stiff deposit, then we can go for footing foundation. If the structure is a rigid, then we will go for a shallow mat or footing foundation based on the requirement. If the deep compressive strata, then the uh, footing foundation on compacted granular zone or a shallow mat or a friction pile. And then if the structure is a rigid structure, then we will go for the deep mat with the possible rigid construction or a long pile or a caissons or some pile techniques also. Like that, if we are encountering soft or a loose data or like fine data, then we will go for the different kind foundations based on the structure, like compacted stiff and that alternative soft or stiff layers and just given here that also. Most of the structures are safe in for especially for the shallow foundation. Most of the structures are safe in mat foundation, mat footing, or mat foundation. Yes, and the conclusion is more. These all are the parameters are most important for the design of the shallow foundation, like detailed comparison and dimension of the footing, estimate of the magnitude and total and differential foundation load and bearing capacity and the settlement analysis. Before starting this foundation design, in especially for that field, we will start with these parameters. These are a very important parameter for a practical point of view. And the steps should be involved in the foundation selection is the information is occurring from concerning for that nature of the superstructure and the loads to be transmitted. How much load we want to transfer from the superstructure, we will know from that analysis using some softwares. And the determine the subsurface condition is that another step. And the engineering judgment for the suitable type of foundation, this judgment will comes on based on our experience as well as what are the foundation techniques we know already. And we should have that ability to correlate that foundation with the soil condition. And the detailed study and tentative design of most promising type of foundation, and prepare a cost estimate for each promising type and choose the best concerning performance and the cost.